Chaudhury.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Coming on.
Now, many of us will hear the word bacteria and we'll go reaching for our hand sanitizers. But you're going to tell us that bacteria can actually be a good thing, right?
Yes, it can. It's used in a lot of natural processes, like making bread and kind of other drinks and things like that. So, yeah.
So not always scary.
Not always scary, no. And they're just one of the microorganisms that you can talk about. They're viruses. I suppose they're not nice either.
No.
But then there are things like algae, which fall into that category as well. And they can be used for producing energy and making pharmaceutical kind of medicines and things like that. So there's lots of uses for microorganisms.
I can only imagine right now. I'm going to make a bit of a leap here, Amer.
Okay, go for it.
You might be a bit geeky in this area,
yeah,
right? A little bit?
Yeah,
definitely.
a little bit. I'm guilty, yeah.
You must have been super excited when you heard about this I'm sorry, not a museum. It's a zoo because they're living things. It's a zoo. How did you feel when you heard about this? Are you going to get over there?
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I'd definitely give it a visit if I had the chance. Yeah, definitely. As in, I enjoy the Science Museum. I think I would say that's probably one of the reasons why I became a mechanical engineer, and then I studied renewable energy later on. So it definitely had an influence on me. And I think if this microorganism zoo is bringing this cool stuff into kind of stuff you can't see, so I can't imagine how it's being done. I've seen a couple of videos, but I think it would be a really interesting experience for kids, and it lets them experience things that are otherwise completely intangible and that you can't see. So,
absolutely.
Well, microorganisms are interesting. I mean, we had a story on Living the Life not too long ago about, do you remember the elephant urine that was powering India's city?
Yes, of course I remember, because we had to try some.
Yeah.
no, it was apple juice, don't worry, but it was, yeah. Well, you can look back at the episode another time.
Well, the fact of the matter is, it can be quite an interesting subject. Do you think that most people around the world sort of underestimate the function of bioorganisms?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very overlooked. As in, sometimes people think that when you're talking about biofuels, they think that you're talking about burning something that you would eat, like burning an apple or burning a banana or something. It's nothing like that.
And when there's so much food shortage around the world, that can be quite controversial.
It can be a terrible thing. So it's more like burning the banana peel or kind of cultivating some algae so that you can kind of just grow it. And they grow in massive kind of sizes, and you can actually produce quite a large amount. And then you can use this for biodiesel or biofuels. So,
I mean, that's some of the reason, I guess. But what are the reasons? I mean, people who've just never really engaged with microorganisms, what do they kind of offer people?
It's very hard to describe exactly, but I think there are a multitude of uses, you know, that come about through using microorganisms. As in, the understanding that we have about them is quite is still growing very rapidly. So, as in this museum that you're talking of. It gives people
the living microorganisms.
Yeah, zoo. So it gives people an idea of what they look like, and obviously they look quite creepy and scary, but we don't really understand how they work yet. But they can be used for a lot of different things, like a university. I think it was a research team at the University of Cambridge are working on using these microorganisms from you know, luminous mushrooms. They kind of glow. They're using that to create a bioluminescent paint that's going to be tested later this year. And so they're planning on painting these plants and different trees outdoors. So basically, when it gets dark, they'll just illuminate themselves, because the microorganisms, the algae, will be kind of modified so that they release this light over the day.
Oh, that's amazing. There's so much to learn when it comes to microorganisms.
It's amazing. There's like so much stuff that we have yet to discover.
What's a good way to start learning about it if someone's watching and they want to find out more?
Well, if you're interested, I think, as in, YouTube is a fantastic place.
Yeah.
I know there's a wealth of knowledge on microorganisms and things there. Other places, I think, in the news recently, there've been a lot of different things about microorganisms, and as in even like medicines and books, yeah.
And fuel.
Books, medicine, and YouTube.
Books, medicine, YouTube, lots of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Amer, thank you so much for joining us. And do stick around.
Yep.
We've got an interesting show. We're going to come back, talk more microorganisms. But right after the break, we'll be discussing Black History Month, and two inspirational individuals will be talking to us about how they...
Chaudhury is still with us, and we'll be joined by our second guest very shortly.
Now, more than 1 million people have experienced humpback whale watching at Australia's Hervey Bay. It's one of the main attractions for visitors to Queensland.
But now visitors have the chance to come eye to eye with them in what's being dubbed Whale Watching version 2. Sabri Bhatti brings us the story of how you can now swim with the great humpbacks.
Relax at Hervey Bay and you'll probably feel the calm of the sea's majestic and curious humpback whales. This is regarded by many as the whale watching capital of the world. But today, simply watching the whales isn't enough, as many enthusiasts prefer to get into the water and swim with them. Harry Kewell is one of Australia's famed football players. As part of his masterclass academy, Kewell is helping people get the chance to swim with the sea's gentle giants. The legend of the football field was like every other passenger on board the Quick Cat 2 as they toured the waters. He was left in utter awe.
This is one of the things I've been told is an amazing thing to do, is to come out here and see the whales. Obviously, I watch a lot of documentaries about them and all that, but to actually see them up close and personal is fantastic, and we're actually getting a great show today. We've seen loads of them. I've been in the water a few times to see them, so no, it's been absolutely amazing.
The Australian football legend appeared at 2 World Cups and took the field for Leeds United, Liverpool and Galatasaray before returning home to play for the Melbourne Heart. He's been voted by fans, players and journalists as Australia's best ever footballer and retired in April this year. Now Harry wants to give something back to grassroots football in Australia. He's using his masterclass in regional towns. These offer children the same opportunities which Harry says he was given as a young player.
I'm coming here to give the young kids a taste of what it's like to become a footballer and give them a little bit of an insight.
The tour gives Kewell the chance to visit spectacular destinations, including Hervey Bay. And after today's experience, there's no doubt he'll return. The whales dictate the experience. Visitors enter the water, and it's up to the inquisitive creatures to approach the swimmers.
I don't know, I was just so excited, and they were a lot more huge than I thought before, and yeah, I was a little nervous before, but when I was in the water it was just amazing, fantastic. Yeah.
When you see them up close, they're really impressive to see. And one of them came up front and we could see, he opened his mouth to us and we could look into it, and it's just massive, yeah.
From July to October each year, humpback whales and their newborn calves stop to rest and play in the protected waters of Hervey Bay before making their way south to Antarctica. An adult humpback whale weighs about 40 tons and is more than 36 feet long. Swimming with them isn't always safe, but many swimmers insist they never feel threatened. The immersive tour, which is being dubbed Whale Watching version 2, can be experienced on both the Fraser Coast and the Sunshine Coast.
What a beautiful creature.
I know.
But
And how
swimming with them
amazing
is
to be able
like,
to
it's
swim
quite,
with them.
yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have this dream, I want to swim with the dolphins, I want to swim with the whales. I'm quite happy watching it on television myself, personally.
Okay then. Now, Black History Month began last Wednesday and of course runs until the end of October. A number of events have taken place and are planned across the country, highlighting the wonderful achievements by black people across the board.
And joining us now are two successful individuals in their own right. Good evening, broadcaster Leah Charles King and social entrepreneur Nathaniel Peat.
Hi guys.
Welcome, guys.
It's great to be back. This is now the 4th time.
Wow.
I'm counting them up now.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, we're always
You're a
very, very
regular.
happy to have you guys back.
Thank you
Especially,
so much.
it's a really good time to have you guys. Obviously, Black History Month is going on.
Absolutely.
What I want to ask you, Leah, straight off the bat is, right, okay, we've had Black History Month for a long time, and it's always very useful, but at this point, why do we still need to have a Black History Month? Shouldn't it just kind of be the norm to have that kind of education in our schools and our institutions?
Well, I think it definitely should be 365 days a year. I mean, Nathaniel is great at explaining this. So what is your point of view?
100%. I mean, you know, if we look at the way the education system is structured in Britain, a lot of the things which are taught is taught about slavery. But you see, black history is much deeper than slavery. When you look at mathematics, for instance, where does maths come from? A lot of people will say, well, it comes from Greece. But it didn't come from Greece. You've got to go deeper and you've got to go further back, because when you look at civilizations like Timbuktu, like Mali, in Egypt, you know, the pyramids were built, you know, thousands of years before, you know, the Greek Empire went and the Roman Empire went. And so you've really got to be thinking deeply about the history and the culture, and that has an impact on people generally.
Yeah.
When you look at the amount of young people from African Caribbean backgrounds that are caught up in antisocial behavior, and some of these young people that don't necessarily have an aspiration, you know, to get higher in society, they don't have anything to base that upon. And so where you're looking at the history, the deep history of these great kingdoms, it goes far beyond slavery.
It's more diverse.
Exactly, that's
and
right,
not just the deep history. We look at modern history as well, sort of the last few years, the last couple of years. And Leah, last night you were at an event which was all about celebrating modern achievement. Tell us about that.
It was amazing. Last night I was fortunate and very honoured to be asked to host the very first Back to Black event at BAFTA. And this was put on by Creating Role Models. The founder
claiming to be relatives of their clients and saying they're cutting hair as a favour. This year, all that changed. Anxious to safeguard Islam's Hajj pilgrimage from disease, Saudi authorities have brought in licensed barbers. They've also put up posters and flooded television and radio stations with warnings of the potential health hazards. With the threat of Ebola looming large, Saudi Arabia screened pilgrims as they arrived from West Africa and deployed mobile laboratories to test any suspected cases quickly. It's difficult to know how many pilgrims contract diseases because of sharing razors, because most of them return to their home countries after the Hajj, so data collection and coordination is minimal, but the concerns are very real. The kingdom said this year it had expected nearly 3 million pilgrims, about half of whom are from abroad. Few of them wear face masks or surgical gloves to protect themselves against the transmission diseases. Those who have taken such precautions are following the advice of the Saudi Health Ministry, which uses pilgrims to set up efforts for cleanliness and hygiene.
So many benefits to kind of shaving their hair off. It's all about hygiene, and you know, there's so much. I'm not going to do it anytime soon, but maybe next year for Hajj, who knows?
Okay, guys, do you know about the Hajj? And have you heard about this shaving of the heads that ends the rites of Hajj?
We just saw a bit of it
Just
there.
now.
And, you know, I do say to you, go for it.
Yeah, you think so? I don't think I've got the face for it. But would you, Amer, would you do a little? Would you just cut a little bit of your hair, as some people do, or shave the full hair off?
I think I'd go all out if I had to do it.
Oh, yeah. Go all out if you had to. I like it. Like it, fantastic.
Nathaniel, coming back to you, you're also an ambassador for Virgin because you are a pilot. Is that right? And we know Virgin, and we know Virgin boss Richard Branson is quite a radical guy when it comes to business and management. How does he do things differently when it comes to race relations at the firm?
Well, I'm not an ambassador for Virgin. I'm a Virgin Media pioneer,
okay.
But I do a great deal of you know, work with Virgin and through their platform, Virgin Startup, and also Virgin Media Pioneers. And you know, I've been to Richard Branson's house before, and you know, he's a very very well balanced person. He's actually quite humble. But he gives really practical advice, and you know, just an example, asking him about business advice and what the best method of actually doing business is, and he just says struggle through. You know, and that's the process you see in life. If you struggle through, you struggle through your studies, you get a first-class honours. You struggle through your career, and you really try hard, and you get promoted. You struggle through life, and you work hard, and you achieve great things. You know, there's a statement which says the road to success is dotted with several obstacles, and if there's no obstacles on your road, it means your road's not going anywhere. So the very fact that, you know, there are those challenges to go through is a good thing. And so, you know, he does say that, and one of the greatest principles that the company as a whole teaches is actually do good business. So you know, do good business in that the business has to have a positive impact on people. Absolutely,
and you can just tell by the way you speak about it, it's had a very positive impact on you. It's reflected really well on the work that you do. I'm going to ask you, Amer, we're talking to Nathaniel, we're talking to Leah, so passionate. I mean, Nathaniel obviously is rubbing shoulders with people like Richard Branson. You know, he's right up there, and obviously you've just finished. There we go.
I don't know if that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now,
could
you imagine having a discussion with maybe someone like Richard Branson about microorganisms and such?
I have no idea, but I think that would be really interesting if chance ever came about.
Yeah, we could talk about financing one of these zoos in London, maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
It'd be good fun.
Definitely.
Virgin microorganisms zoo.
I would go there. I would go there. Tickets sold.
Guys, thanks. Stay with us. We are, of course, going over for a break, and when we return, we'll be finding out how one poet is swapping the small stage for the large stage.
Do stay with us. We're back in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Coming up after the break, Mexico's famous cochineal insect is in demand again across the world. Living the Life has all the details. Poet Musalman Koallam joins Living the Life to tell us about his latest venture. And these enthusiasts in Morocco try to keep afloat their love for the waters. That's all coming up straight after the break.
Living the life.
Every day, approximately 800 women die of preventable causes related to childbirth and pregnancy. 99% of maternal deaths occur in developed.
Cactus growers are helping to revive an ancient dying tradition. And for this, they've enlisted the help of a tiny bug that feeds off the country's prickly pears. The humble cochineal insect once occupied a proud place in pre-Hispanic culture. It was a natural dye for clothes and art. But over the years, synthetic colours and the bug's parasitic nature saw it lose favour with local farmers. Demand for the bug has come from unlikely sources such as Starbucks and fashionistas. And amid all that, insect breeders are cashing in.
Mainly for its price. 1 kilo of cochineal grain from the dry insect is being sold today at $25 to $30. This raises the value of agricultural production. On the other hand, it goes with the trend of using organic products.
So what do we know about this historic but also modern insect? Well, the cochineal thrives on cactus plantations. It's found on the leaves of the plant where it's shaken off and killed while retaining its rich red colour. The cochineal's natural dye has been used in Mexico for over a millennia, from wall paintings in temples to elaborate textiles. Legend has it that Aztec ruler Moctezuma levied an annual tribute on the insect's dye during his reign. But the pre-Hispanic tradition had almost been lost. Then recently, Mexican authorities designed new reproduction techniques. These help to capture more of the insect and with a greater consistency in specialist greenhouses. Benigno Rodriguez is a cochineal breeder who says this hasn't been an easy task.
Yes, it's been a lot of work to rescue the culture that was lost. It's a culture that our ancestors gave us and that we have forgotten. My colleagues and their workers have the job of reviving this precious crop.
Mexican agriculture officials have taken a keen interest in building the country's cochineal sector. They say it's a lucrative industry which is overtaking the market value of corn and frijol. With greater investment in research and development to improve the quantity and quality of the cochineal insect, authorities hope to grow 3 tons of the bug for market every year. More than just a colouring for clothes, the rich red of the cochineal can also be found in food products like jams, juices and even cookies. It's also used by pharmaceutical companies to give tablets their red colour.
Ah, so that's how things get their red colour. It's really educational, this programme, but I really enjoy these little moments.
Now, you may remember when poet Musalman Koallam joined Living the Life back in May, where he talked to us about his unique poem called Planet of the Grapes, which is, of course, based on George Orwell's famous book, Animal Farm.
Well, now he's taking his poem to the theatrical stage. Good evening and assalamu alaikum, Musalman Koallam. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, before we take a look at this new venture, let's remind ourselves a little bit about the poem itself. It's, of course, based on George Orwell's Animal Farm, is that correct?
Well, it's my own interpretation of that. So it's called Planet of the Grapes in Attack of the Green Chilies. And what it is basically is an alternative look at the sort of World War I centenary. And it's a conflicts of fruit and vegetables. And so that's what it's about. And I did a Streatham Festival project with the last project, and now it's evolved into a theatre production with a season of Bangla drama. So I'm looking forward to that. We're in rehearsals at the moment, and it's a one-man show, but you know, we're developing at the moment, so it's
Fantastic.
good. Yeah.
I've got to say, before we just move on to that in more detail, I understand one of you guys have already, you're familiar with the poem, is that right?
Oh, the book.
The book itself,
Animal
sorry.
Farm.
George Orwell's Animal Farm, so it was a big readers on that?
Everyone likes that book.
Everybody likes that book. Excellent. Yeah, we do. Well, I certainly love the book. And it's the beautiful thing about George Orwell's work, in all of his work, really, is the symbolism, really, and how he takes some things and they represent members of society to things that are quite, you might think, mundane to animals on a farm. And as I guess you're taking it into the fruit and veg
Well,
world?
that's it. I mean, what I'm doing with that is basically there's a play on accents, because like my upbringing is like I'm a British-born Bangladeshi Muslim, and I've been raised with like different accents. My friends have different cultures, different accents as well. And so there's like a South London accent, there's an Irish accent, there's a reggae accent. I'm thinking of a Scottish accent as well. But then there's the Queen's English accent as well.
Of course.
So go on.
So you're going to be performing this on stage by yourself with all your different accents. I remember last time you came, you had a wide range of accents, which was incredible. When we look at the poem, because it was of course a poem until it became a theatre production, how well was it received for it to become this?
Well, I mean, first of all, I've taken it to academic levels, where basically it originated where I've done 2005 I did my degree and thesis on the history of Bangladesh, but the photographic history of Bangladesh and its autonomy, and basically, you know, its birth of a country. And so there's like hardship there as well, but it's all digitised. And basically I worked with the Bangladesh Liberation War Museum in Dhaka and the Imperial War Museum in this country as well, and I helped to digitise 100 photographs, and now it's accessible to the public through the Imperial War Museum, and now some of the photographs are in the actual Bangladesh Liberation War Museum in Dhaka. And so I bring in sort of my own sort of like influences, my own understandings of like current issues as well, and I bring it into sort of the centenary issue. And the thing is about basically, you know, there's an Irish leprechaun green pea, and it talks quite angrily about certain things. And then there's also like an aubergine, which is talking about the front line and basically nomads in no man's land.
Yeah.
And so I've done academic talks and lectures at the Imperial War Museum as well. You can access them as well.
Wow.
And it's about the Imperial War Museum remit, about the history of Bangladesh as well.
It's incredible. I mean, we just had a look at the picture, actually, the cover, the Attack of the Green Chilies. It's a beautiful cover, I've got to say. Maybe kind of hungry, I'm not going to lie, right? Leah, if I can ask you, right, I mean, a one-man show at the best of times is quite a difficult proposition. Then you bring, even if you've got a successful poem behind it, but just to get up there and to do something from a cultural background that speaks to our current community, it's quite powerful, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what I was doing last night with Back to Black at BAFTA. And what was so fantastic was because there were celebrities and community in one place. They were not separated, there was no backstage, you know, or front of house. It was all in one, and it was a packed house there. So everyone was sort of sat together and really enjoying the vibe. And so to be able to present it as well in front of my peers and just be myself and be so well received was phenomenal, fantastic.
And is this what you're kind of anticipating? I mean, you're obviously putting on different characters, different accents. How are you kind of excited about taking something that you wrote on the word, on the page, and now taking it onto the stage, from the page to the stage?
Well, it's a thrill. It's kind of like a buzz as well.
Yeah.
And it's at the Space Theatre. The thing about it, it's part of season of Bangla Drama, and it's a new sort of venture for me as well. But I did do a module in drama in my degree, but just one module. But the thing is, though, now it's actually, I'm kind of monetising what I'm doing. So what you say and what you speak into a product, or a theatre product, as it were, as well. And I also work as a librarian, so I'm thinking of doing a children's book as well, related to it as well.
I can imagine that's going to be...
Thank you so much for this. We're looking forward to a live performance later on in the programme. You've got